Welcome to this episode of the Business of Real Estate podcast with Lynn Hoffman and Eric Johnson. Today, we're talking all about teams and how we see the market shifting where agents are forming more and more teams in different ways than was traditionally done. So Lynn, I've noticed it. I'm sure you've noticed it as well. We've also had, I think, in 2025, it was, we always say, hey, half our agents had their best year, the other half had their worst year, but we did see things get a little tough. Agents have to tighten up and really look at things as a business and where they're spending. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of people shifting and asking questions about joining a team. Mm-hmm. Now, I know you and I both work with a number of teams. Mm-hmm. And I think we were discussing before we came on air is that we also see a lot of different types of teams than we normally did, than the traditional team leader and team members and 50-50 splits, et cetera, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Your thoughts on people shifting and moving towards teams?
Well, I definitely agree with you because there have been a certain percentage of the agents that have had a struggle because some of them have never been in a market like this. So, and they may have not got as an established database as some of the team leads and the more tenured people in the business. So I've seen a shift where they like to partner up with other people. And one of my recommendations has always been, and still will be, live with somebody before you get married.
Yep.
So for that, I mean, just work with them a little bit and see how you get along and see how you do. And if you're the one that's carrying the leads or the referrals, you may give a couple out and see how that other person does with them before you commit to giving them more. So a little bit more of that kind of dance and in the relationship and what we would call partnering. Now, to your point, I think I'm seeing more that are sort of more formalizing a partnership.
Yep.
And I think it's a good idea. I think it is. Real estate for individuals can be very lonely. You don't know who to turn your business over to when you're going away. There's all sorts of things that could be shared costs. So I think it's a good thing. It's just something that's kind of come about in the last, I would say, 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, and I would, to your point, you said sharing some of that cost, it's the expense side of things, the monetary side. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the thing I found is, for realtors, I try to encourage them, you got to treat this like a business, and you got to be doing profit and loss statements on a monthly basis. If you're doing that, you're going to see the money in and out and see how much it is costing you exactly. But I think on both sides, so on the team lead side and on the team member side, because the team members are going, man, I can't afford to maybe pay an admin, do as much marketing as I'd like. I think with AI, you see a lot of people trying to jump on the bandwagon and do a lot of things. And, I got to spend money here. I got to spend money on a CRM. And I say to those people, like, let's just see what you need in your business right now. Mm-hmm. Let's get a good foundation and building blocks together. And then we can see what we can add. But they're feeling the pinch because they maybe had a tough year. And then on the same side, the team lead. So I know some of the team leads where they're going, their team members aren't maybe performing as well as they should. They're paying fees for their members, plus they're paying all this other stuff, and they're going, wow, and these guys want higher splits, et cetera. So for them, sometimes it's easier to say, look, the format I'm seeing a lot of now is where the team members are paying their own fees. The splits are more like a 70-30, 80-20, and then, but the team is doing some marketing for them. The team has some admin support. It may be the team members paying the marketing for a listing, but there's this more of a partnership, right? Because then the team lead isn't taking on as much debt.
Exactly.
Right? So they're saving some money. They're seeing this like, okay, I can still have a team. I still have people to feed leads to. Maybe they don't want to deal with buyers. They're going to focus on listings, which is a good strategy for a team lead. But they're not taking on this heavy cost.
Yeah, I think a lot of the traditional teams take on a lot of people who may not have enough experience or enough GCI to really do what the team needs to get done. When I've been talking to a couple of agents recently, and a couple come to mind fast, where they have partnered with somebody else, they typically are making the same kind of money. They're very close in money themselves, and the one member has got maybe more leads, maybe they're more of a listing side, and they've got these leads, and they just don't have enough time to deal with them all. So they're looking for someone who's comparable to their status, comparable to their thinking. If they're a working by referral kind of person, they want the same kind of partner. And they're, I'm suggesting to them that they give up a couple of their leads in trust and see what this other agent does with them. If that other agent can convert them, then this could be the beginning of a beautiful partnership where they're really coming together in a more equal perspective. And of the things that you mentioned, I think the admin costs are the biggest, because sometimes one person, even if they're doing $300,000 to $500,000 a year, they cannot always afford a full-time admin, a good one. But if two people get together, they can keep that admin busy full-time and keep the admin active and keep the admin engaged with their business.
Yep.
And move on and do some other things and share that business, and they share that cost. And I would say if they do that, they share that cost equally, right?
Yep.
The other big one is staging, because staging costs for one person is an awful lot. Where if you're both sharing that resource and you're both doing that kind of work or the items of that resource, it saves money again. So
Yeah.
I think there's a few things there. There's some of the traditional team leads are not getting enough conversion on their leads. So where I've been talking to agents is where they're pretty similar in income, but definitely similar in mindset and how they do business. One just might carry more inventory than the other one does. So there's like a good fit.
Yeah. And I've also seen where it's not team lead or team members, but when they're working in partnership, I'm not splitting. If you and I were in partnership in the way some of these team, or we'll call them teams, are doing it, is we work as individuals. We're not splitting our commissions with each other. We're doing our own commissions, but we are splitting those costs. And that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
And it does make more, and you were talking about, at that equal level. And I think I look back to, our last episode that we filmed with Emily Berry, and she was talking about how she really, like with her team, she is teaching them. So those newer agents or the less experienced ones, she really focuses on teaching and educating them. She does have some higher splits. She didn't share exactly what they are, but I know they are a little bit higher than the typical team. But for those that don't want to spend the time, because how many times have you heard from a team leader, oh, I don't want these new agents, I don't want to train them. And I get that.
No, they want us to train them.
Yeah. and I understand that because they don't have the time. So it makes more sense if you're going to bring in somebody who does have experience, who does have some higher GCI, that it's going to be more of a partnership rather than a team lead, team member dynamic. So to me, that makes sense for an agent out there that's thinking, hey, I don't really want to run a team, but I need some help.
Yeah.
Well, a partnership is a great idea.
I think it is, because we're talking, as you just said, something different. We're not talking about sharing the commissions. We're talking about sharing the expenses.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes a big difference. One of the big pitfalls I'm watching some agents go down this rabbit hole of is that these team leaders think they can become recruiters. And so they start trying to recruit to their team. And that's just another whole pillar of work that they're not prepared for. And then, to Emily's point, she was saying she did all the training for her team. Well, there again, that's taking away from what she's supposed to do, which is make it rain leads. And so she's not getting that done. So those are some of the traps. And Emily didn't fall into this trap. She seems to have it well handled, but it's a trap that I'm seeing a lot of team leads out there on social media are falling into. They're out there doing videos which are more recruiting based than they are consumer and based. And they're getting lost in that weed. So if they weren't constantly searching for that, or they had somebody else doing it, they could focus on their business. And a true partnership, I think, is just one where you share the costs, you cover for each other, which can be super expensive. I remember as an agent, my first few years selling, I had a lovely lady who was an older lady at the time, and she and I covered off on each other's business all the time. And that meant no matter what it was, no matter how much work was involved, we did it for each other for free.
Yep.
And we did it well for each other. Then fast forward a few years after that, when she was no longer doing that, I had another agent help me. That was probably the most expensive vacation of my life because the other agent took 50% of that deal. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a lesson learned. So another way that you can service your clients when you're away and have somebody who you're partnering with who you know is going to carry the business. And that's why I say it's important that you have the same mindset and way of doing business.
Yeah, and I remember 8-9 years ago, I was working with a couple agents that I knew. I had my own coaching business, and they wanted to work in partnership. They were good friends. They were individual agents, and they decided to come together. They called me up and wanted to hire me and help them put this together, whereby they, rented an office out of their brokerage. They shared that expense. They both decided to go with the same CRM product. I helped them get that installed, and so that allowed them to be able to share contact information. Because I've seen that in a lot of the CRMs we have. You can share that contact with somebody, but assign rights, like they don't have admin rights, they just have view rights, but they can at least see the conversations that have been had so they can better answer. Because if they don't have that, they have to bug you. Hey, did you say this? They would have a record of that. What they did was they did their own marketing, but every once in a while they did videos together. And for the sense that if one went away and the other one, they said, well, so-and-so's covering me, they've seen them working together. And so they assume they're like a team. And so it's not a surprise. It's not a total stranger covering because they're somewhat familiar with the other person. And it just really worked because they could also hold each other accountable. And to your point earlier is, and I found this even being a director with BNI, is that, one of our selling points to business owners was that, look, ownership, especially in a solopreneur, it's very lonely. And you can't share some of your frustrations. You can't share them with employees. No. And those are probably the people you're closest to.
Yes.
Your spouse may not understand it, but other business owners do. And so when you can bring two realtors who know what it's like trying to grow a business, and you can share those frustrations with each other, and you can hold each other accountable and pump each other up when you need it. I just think it's a great opportunity.
I do too. I've got one team in Oakville, two young men in Oakville that are doing this, and they have shared the expense of an office space together, and they're doing some marketing together. They're doing everything that you just said, and it is working really well for them. And then I have another big team who two members in the team have partnered together. So you've got the team, and then you've got two people that are kind of partnering together within the team, and they're doing all their videos together, and they're doing all their promotions together. It's just a collaboration for them. But what it does is when one of them's sick, or if one of them has to go off on mat leave or whatever it is, the other one is already, as you said, familiar with their clients. They know what each other, they know their clients know these two people, and it is really working. So I'm seeing more and more of it. I suggest it all the time when people say to me, you want to come and make a team? I'll say, well, live together first before you get married, before you formalize it.
Yeah. Well, don't let your pastor hear that.
Well,
he might have
and
other
as a
things
mother,
to
I
say.
probably shouldn't say that either, but anyway, I just did. Because you don't know until you've actually worked with somebody. When I started, when I changed into management, I had to give my book of business away. That was a requirement to start the managing position. And I gave half of it to one agent, and I gave half of it to another agent. And I was allowed to take referrals on those for the first 6 months.
Yep.
One of the agents did really well. The other one, not so much. So again, you've got to be careful who you're giving your client to and your database to. And I like your idea of sharing that information to a point.
Yes.
Right? Just so if say something happens, you get really sick or you have to go in for an emergency operation. There's somebody there to help you with your business, even though you're not on a big team.
Yeah.
I think it just makes sense to me.
Yeah, because I think the average agent at any one time, it does not have that many listings, et cetera, that they're working with. Let's say they have 2 or 3. I'm
Yeah.
not sharing my entire database.
No.
I'm just sharing those 2 or 3 people. Yeah. They have the information, but yeah.
And my experience is that the minute you say you're going away for vacation, the busier you get because you're trying to get everything done. And oh my God, you're making phone calls and things are starting to happen. You're following up.
Hey, nudge, wink,
Nudge,
wink
nudge.
to everybody out there.
Yeah, that
Make calls, follow up.
That was a subtle, very subtle hint. And then when that happens, and then I get this phone call, I don't have anybody to cover my business.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to another point is, guys, make friends with other realtors in your offices and in your brokerage. Make friends so that you know who thinks like you, you know what everybody's doing, so you can call upon that person to help you when you need help, and even maybe take a next step and partner on certain things with them.
Yeah, and not only that, but the family, you go away on vacation. I remember my first wife, partner in a law firm, somebody's looking after files, but we're in Disney and she has to keep taking calls and answering stuff. And it's just like, okay.
Welcome to our world.
I thought somebody was covering, right? But they didn't have all the information.
Yes.
Right? And so I get it. Like, I've lived that life and, and it got better. But when you're in that situation, it's just like, how do you enjoy your vacation when you are constantly having to answer questions and deal with stuff? You really didn't get away.
Well, there's 2 things, and I just coached one of my agents who's on a team, and she went to Portugal last week, and she was having a big debate with her spouse about who could take the laptop and what she could do and how much she could do. And I said to her, I said, look, you're on a team. The team, this is where they can support you, or it could be a partner, but this is where they can support you. Because I said, just remember, every time you take a phone call or answer a text message or answer somebody, you not only have taken yourself out of your vacation, you've taken your spouse out of their vacation.
Yep.
And after you do that long enough, there can be some cracks, especially if the spouse doesn't understand the nature of why you have to keep doing this. They don't understand. They think somebody else should be covering at the office for you, and they're not. So there's all these other reasons as well, but just out of sheer help with costs and being able to be more productive or stronger with an admin cost, a staging cost, recruiting, all these different things that factor into the business, I think it's a pretty good idea and a good thing to look at.
Yeah. I call it a team without being a team.
Yeah.
And I always reference Faisal Suziwala has been the top individual agent for RE/MAX 8 years in a row.
Right.
And we had him along with one of our team leads, who was the #1 team in Canada. So we had the 2 number ones. And Faisal was sharing about how, as an individual, like he did over 460 transactions, right? Which is crazy as an individual agent. But here's the thing. He only works with sellers. And he mentioned, like, unless one of his sellers wants to buy one of his other listings, he has about 4 agents within his office that he will, send the buyers to. He keeps them in his database. They get to put that person in their database, and he gets 50% of that deal. And I know that any a further transaction they do down the road, he also gets a share of that. But he's constantly feeding. He has so many. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them, but he's able to, feed them. But he has a team of 4 admins that handle everything from his personal stuff. And as he said, his goal is to do appointments Monday to Thursday. He works Monday to Thursday, and he'll do 4 to 5 listing appointments each day. He takes Friday, Saturday, Sunday off from appointments. But I know the guy, he is quick to respond to text messages, et cetera. He will get back to you. I've worked with him a little bit in the past, and I know other people who have. And he's very good that way, and his admins really handle that stuff. But his admins do not handle anything on the buy side. Like these other agents, they are on their own. And so as an individual agent, he can do, because he's built a good marketing system and he has a good business model, he's able to handle all these transactions, but have this team without incurring the cost, right? So I call it the team without being a team. He is a team, but he's not. He's an individual agent that feeds this team of agents buyers. And so that's another way to do it.
It is.
Right? You can do it that way where I just feed off buyers to some other people and we have a close relationship. To your point earlier, I have to make sure they are the right people.
Yes.
You're going to treat them the way I need them to be treated.
Right.
Or I can work hand in hand partners, like more a formal partnership where we are sharing that space, we're sharing admin. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. I just think that this is a good point in time for a lot of agents to really consider that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of people get out of the business because the market has changed so much, taking so long. We do see some people getting out.
And they should.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I say that with the utmost respect because there's some brilliant people, and I've watched this over the last 20 years, brilliant people come into real estate, but they're just not wired for real estate.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them, and it's hard on their family, it's hard on the pocketbook, and it just becomes a grind and very difficult for them. And I mean, if they're earning under $100,000 a year in this business with all the costs and expenses you have, you need to rethink the business that you're in. You really do.
Yeah.
So that might be a spot where you might want to find somebody else who's like-minded and might need someone to partner with. That's one way to do it. But unfortunately, there is going to be a lot of culling of the, the market.
For sure.
There has to be.
It's
too expensive it's too expensive. You make $100,000 and you're spending, between everything else, probably 45 to 50 on between your taxes and all your costs and your brokerage fees and your marketing. Is it worth it?
Yeah. Because you could get a corporate job and pays a lot more and have a lot less hassle. I mean, I agree with that. I think it is a good time for somebody who, especially when you look at, I may not be the best marketer, but I get in front of people, but then it's also, well, in order to get in front of people, I need good lead gen, and I'm not good at that because I'm not great at marketing and whatever. But when you can partner with somebody who, I also think that when you're looking for that person, you want somebody that complements your strengths and weaknesses, right? Because if you and I were the exact same and we both were great but in front of people, but we sucked when it came to lead gen and marketing, we're both going to be sitting there struggling.
Yeah.
Versus if you have some strengths where I have weaknesses, we can play off each other, we can help each other, and now together we become a truly great agent, a super agent, and we both benefit from that. So
I'm going to use Emily as the perfect example.
Yeah.
She said her husband, he had an accounting background. So she drew on her husband for the accounting side. He also liked to do the marketing, so he took over those parts. She's definitely the people person and the sales person. So together, it's like, I always call it two halves of a key that make one really strong key. So you're exactly right. You're going to look for somebody who you've got shared commonality of how you like things done and how you think and how you want your clients to be treated. But maybe one's just a little bit better at one side of things and the other's a little bit better at the other. And together it makes a great team.
Yeah, you share the same core values.
Yeah, I think
you
that's
share
important.
the same core values, but they complement you in terms of strengths and weaknesses. So I think that's something for an agent out there really looking to find the right partner. Make sure they have the same core values, that you complement each other. Because if you're both the same, right? If you both
Opposites attract.
Yes.
That should, and there's a reason for that.
But I also know there's a couple offices I can go in, and I know there's a couple agents where I go, where are you? Like, they want to work in partnership, and the one's not coming into the office. The other one does come into the office, and so, like, how are you guys working together when one doesn't want to come in, the other's coming in, or maybe they both don't come in, and they both want to be
Well-
You can't have that. You need that one is going to push the other one to do this, and then this one's going to push the other one to do these things.
Well, that's the accountability.
And they become better.
The accountability
Yes.
portion of it as well for each other. But definitely, I think something for agents, for everybody to think about. I would say look around your offices, look around our brokerage, look around to see who you get along with on a general level, and then dig deeper and see if there's any reason or any benefit to partnering for some of these things. Because one of my agents, she's got so many leads, she can't handle them all. So she has looked, and I gave her some suggestions. And because my role kind of in that is like the eHarmony of real estate agents. I try to find two people that are compatible together and will work together. I know I said that with my outside voice. It's
You
okay.
said that out loud, didn't
I did.
you?
I said that with my outside voice, but it's kind of true. I've had people say that to me before. You're looking for two people that can work well together, who can share things well together without accusing each other of all sorts of
Yeah.
terrible things, and actually can split costs and split all sorts of things that make both of their lives so much better.
For sure. And my advice to a realtor right now would be, if they're looking at some sort of partnership, team, whatever, I hate when people come to me and they go, well, what are other teams doing? Well, right now there's a lot of different things happening.
so many models.
Don't worry about whether the models, figure out what's best for you. Because I think, as I say to people, think outside the box. I've had conversations with agents where, after talking to them, I said, you just need a team of admins, because you could have 3 admins and handle a lot of business, handle some buyers, etc. And if you really wanted to, you could refer those buyers out, much like a Faisal does.
Yep.
Or you could bring one person on. You don't need a big team. The team of admins, as long as they take away non-money making activities from you, and you can focus on just appointments, then you're going to be better off. But if you want to do the partnership, you're going, hey, let me work in partnership. Well, then we don't have to split commissions.
Yeah.
Or I could form a team, and we have a couple of teams now where I have one team, there's 2 team leads, and then there's 3 team members now. And the team members are paying, they're only giving up 20 to 30% of commission, but they're paying their own way. It's just shared marketing, shared office space, shared admin.
Yeah.
So the team lead is not putting a lot in. They are getting compensated for that, but that's different than your typical 50-50, 60-40 split. So I just think there's so many models and there's so many ways to do it, is you got to find what's best for you.
Yeah, that's
Really.
exactly true. And I've got to say this for our team leads, a lot of people don't understand the costs that they do cover. If there's staging involved, if there's some landscaping done, if there's all sorts of things that add to the cost. There's the admins, there's marketing, everything else. And if the agents on the team are not converting those leads into business, then the team leads expensive. They just go up exponentially.
Huge.
And so that's...
You got to let them know. I've been to a leadership summit.
Yeah.
I've also been at a Teams conference for RE/MAX.
Yeah.
And both times I've had people up on the stage sharing that they let their people know, be vulnerable, and let them know what some of those expenses are, and let them know how much they cost. Because if you don't, it's kind of like, there was a thing that said, I remember seeing this post about in relationships, at the beginning, we're trying to make that other person happy. And we spend so much time making that person happy at the beginning, but then after a bit of time, it becomes you kind of take it for granted. And then you start expecting. Instead of me giving, I'm expecting. And I see that in a team relationship whereby at the beginning, everybody's excited to be on the team and they're giving their all. And then after that, it's like, well, what are they doing for me? And the problem is that the team lead isn't letting them know, because they don't say, hey, if you sell nothing for the next 3 months,
This is what you cost
you're
me.
costing me 10 grand
Yeah,
or
or
15 grand.
better,
And they're
yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
This is what your cost to me is. So breaking out what is that admin cost per person? What's the office cost per person? All the marketing, the technology. And so by letting them know, they understand what it is. Like, man, if I don't sell anything, I just cost him or her X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
That's why there is that split. But you have to let them know. You can't assume they know.
No, you can't assume. And the team lead is a little, they're not helping the team member if they don't have an expectation on conversions
For sure.
as well, at costs and conversions. And the funniest thing, I hear it all the time, a team member, after they're doing really well and up and running and doing great, will go, I don't need the team anymore. I can do this all by myself. Okay, let's have a go at it and see what it is. And then somewhere down the line I hear, now I know what my team lead was talking about.
Yes.
Now I get it. And now I'm being that crabby to my new team members because I've learnt. And now I understand why the team ran that way. But you could avoid all that if you're a little bit more transparent with your expectations as a team lead, what you expect, what the costs are and what you expect in return to cover that. It's the team lead on those things takes the risk. Therefore, in my opinion, they get the reward or more reward because they take more risk.
And they're also giving up sales to support the team member and do
Right.
the training and do these other things.
Right.
So they've just lost their income.
Right.
So obviously that has to be made back up.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to come up with a good plan. I think we're seeing more people, I am at least, investigate what another model would look like and what would look like for them. But I guess if I had to give a team leader advice, I would say what you just did. Be a little bit more transparent about what the real costs are per person on your team and what the expectation is of recovery of that on the team. And maybe write into the contract, if you haven't converted X number of leads that you're given from the team, then it's time to re-look at your contract and have a talk about if you're still a good fit for the team. I'm not seeing that happen too much. I think that's going to be a question for another team that we have coming on pretty soon.
But yeah, I agree. I think, I talk a lot about 30, 60, 90-day onboarding process, having those checklists. Here's what we expect. When I've done the Workman Success Program, there was talk, their whole thing was you have to expect them to do an average of 2 deals per month. Otherwise, why are you keeping them on? It doesn't make financial sense. They talk about progressive splits, when it resets. They talk about resetting every month. We have a lot of people resetting every year. I just think that as an agent, you really need to, this is a great time where you can see a lot of people being creative in these situations. So whether you're an existing team member looking to say, okay, I need to have more accountability, I need to have more expectations and set some standards. As I always say, you set a minimum, and if you allow that to slide, then that slide becomes your new minimum.
Yeah.
You can't go back up here because you allowed that to happen.
No,
So
it's hard to go backwards.
set expectations, standards, whatever you want to call them. Have that conversation. But, if you're somebody looking to get that support, saying, hey, I can't do it on my own anymore, then look at some of these alternatives, whether it's a formal partnership as a team, just a partnership without being a team, but you partner on some things, or you become a team, but it's more like a partnership, as I said, like where the team members are only giving up 20, 30%, because they're getting some stuff, but they're paying their own way.
Yeah.
So there's so many different ways.
There's a lot of ways. There's just a lot. But I think it all basically involves getting to know the people that are around you, watching other people, how they're doing their business, looking at their success, how they choose to do their business. Are they relational? Are they transactional?
Yeah.
Do they run hot and cold? Or are they nice and steady every year?
Yeah.
Like, look at all these things and then go have some conversations with people. When I have agents tell me they have too many leads for them to cover as an individual agent and they want to give them away, that's a really good problem to have. So now we've just got to go help them find the person that's the right fit to partner with them to help get those leads be satisfied.
The one thing I would add to that is, And I've had people where, hey, I've got so many leads, but it's like, is that right now or is that consistently? I see people trying to bring people on, and I go, but it's just this one period, because I haven't seen you with excess leads before.
That's what I said to you.
And
I
right?
said that see if their business is consistent. Are they
Yes.
running hot and cold? Because that's really important. If an agent consistently can carry 4 to 8 listings all the time, then that's somebody who's building up
Bring
lots
somebody
of
on.
bring somebody on. Bring an admin on first, but bring people on. But maybe it's time to partner with somebody to help you build that. But they need to be consistent.
Yeah.
Like you're right. People will come to me and say, I need an admin, but I only need one for a couple of months, and then I'll be quiet again. Well, that's not right.
Yeah.
You can't do that to people. You can't hire somebody on with the expectation in 3 months you're going to let them go. That's not fair. So there again, if you partnered with somebody who's looking for an admin, and God love us, we have more need for admins, I think, than anything else. I have agents. Do we have a VA? Do we have this? Do we have that? Well, maybe that's a time you should partner with somebody to share a good admin.
Yeah. I think I should be opening up a business for admins.
Holy
VAs.
smokes, I can't.
The number of requests I get.
I can't keep them.
So anybody out there,
Looking
there
for
is a
admins.
business model there.
You're very sought after right now, and high demand. Good ones in high demand. But again, that's a spot where you've put a lot of money out to pay for an admin to be there. I understand the trepidation that, well, what if I'm not busy in 6 months? And what if I don't need her? That's a good time. Maybe you partner with somebody to share that expense.
For sure. Even if you do part-time. I know one real estate coach who really proposes people start with, say, 10 hours a week, and maybe you have 2 part-time admins, because if one goes, you're not left in the lurch.
They're hard to find, though.
No, I know.
They're harder
but
to
that's
find.
where, to your point, so now if I have, say, somebody with 10, 20 hours, but then somebody else comes in and partners, we can provide full-time work with the 2 of us, whereas I might only be able to give them half the time that they want or need.
But then you're only paying for half the time when you're not using them instead of the whole time. And so the weight comes off the agent's shoulders that they are now having to, keep this person busy because she needs to feed her family.
Yeah.
You're splitting that expense. You're giving us a stable income to a person who's going to do, very well for you. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think more agents need to think about this and really think outside the box, other than just the traditional team concept. So,
I agree.
So for those of you out there, you're contemplating, okay, things have been a little tough in this market, and last year maybe wasn't the greatest year. There are multiple ways to do this, as we've been discussing today. Whether it's formal partnerships, informal partnerships, teams, different ways to do it. I just want you to think outside the box. If you have any questions or you want some help, please reach out. Glad to have that conversation with you. And we'd love to hear, your comments and maybe what you're doing. So share some of the stories with us on our YouTube channel or on our Instagram page, etc. We'd love to hear from you. But we thank you so much for your loyalty, for following. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Business of Real Estate Podcast with Lynn Hoffman and Eric Johnson.